How's it? Welcome inside the 11 Warriors Web Report. I'm Brett Hiltbrand, Dan Hope, Joshua Perry, who has 4 sets of gold pants sitting at home, or with your mom, probably.
With my mom.
With your mama,
yes.
As per tradition and as it should be. It is officially now Michigan week, and it's the game that we always look forward to each and every year. We talked a little bit earlier in the report that the game, obviously, as we've discussed ad nauseum over the years, is obviously a different level. But I always think it's really interesting to get a former player's perspective, specific to how Urban Meyer is like during this week. Because on Monday, in his press conference, Urban Meyer downplayed the fact that Ohio State, for the first time since 2004, is a home underdog against Michigan. Now, we don't talk about those things. I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm not buying that for a single second this week, and you agree.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Meyer is not just going to flat out say, oh, yeah, we're using that as motivation. It's kind of loser motivation. He doesn't like
absolutely.
that. The game deserves a little bit more respect than to say that's going to be your one point of motivation. But he's absolutely using that. These guys aren't used to being underdogs. Coach Meyer's been very successful as an underdog. But this week, more than any other week, the motivation comes into play. We've had former players come in before, former coaches come in before just to talk about it. And it's everything. You come in, they've got the song LL Cool J, It's Time for War on a loop, and it's a 24-hour loop. I know this because I've been there all day before 10 in the morning till 9 at night listening to that damn song. You've got all the highlight tapes playing. They've got all the biggest hits from the rivalry game. It's that week. You walk in through the facility, and they've got scout team jerseys taped to the floor for players to walk over because that's what the mentality is. And more so than any other week, the motivation aspect is huge. And this is the one, too, because everything's on the table right now. Big Ten championship, playoff, you name it. This game is a must-win if you want all those things to happen.
It seems like every year, OSU Michigan, it plays in their national playoff, college football playoff implications on the line, save also for Big Ten stuff, just simply because those are the 2 premier programs in the entire conference. And yet, it also kind of exists in its own bubble, its own microcosm. It's a single game season. And for Jim Harbaugh, I think this is the most important game, without question, that he has ever had in his career and his tenure at Michigan.
Yeah, I agree, because you look at what they've done this season at Michigan. They beat Michigan State. They've beaten Wisconsin. They've beaten Penn State. They've proven, finally, that they can win the big game. But this is the big game. This is the one. If you don't win this one, all of those other wins, everything else you accomplished this season loses a little bit of luster. And you look at where Michigan is. Both these teams truly have the same things at stake here. They're both 10-1. They could both win the Big Ten East, earn a berth in the Big Ten championship game. They both still have a shot at the college football playoff. But Michigan's ranked number 4 in the country right now. They truly are in the driver's seat to make the college football playoff. This is a huge game for them. This is one that they really, really want to win, and so does Ohio State. But there's no question this is going to be it's going to be a confident Michigan bunch coming to Columbus this week.
And for Harbaugh, I think the biggest reason he's so confident, to me, it's not actually the defense being elite, and this is probably the best defense in the country we're talking about with Michigan. I actually think it's confidence in Shea Patterson at quarterback, because for the very first time, Harbaugh has a quarterback that he trusts completely, and I think that's a game changer for the Wolverines.
Yeah, and when you look at what Shea Patterson's been able to do, he's done a great job for them, hitting at about 67%. You want your quarterback to hit at about 70% passing, so he's pretty much there. He's going to run the ball for you about 8 times a game, but their game plan is going to be to start with that run game. They're going to throw some of that play action in there, and then once a quarter, they're going to take a shot, and they've been able to hit some of those shots. You've got a guy, Nico Collins, a pretty big guy. Donovan Peoples-Jones is another bigger receiver. So they've got kind of that makeup on offense and a quarterback who he trusts to be able to take that game plan and execute. Coupled with that O-line coached by Ed Warner, who was formerly an Ohio State assistant, who's played very well this year. I think the offense to him is what he's been looking for ever since he's taken the helm at Michigan. And
on the flip side, Dan, the defense, it's probably the best in the entire country. That front seven is elite front seven. Some issues, some injuries last week, but still it's going to be the toughest test that this high-powered offense for Ohio State has faced. It's strength versus strength. The passing attack of Ohio State coupled with the run game a little bit against the best, I think the best passing defense in the country.
Yeah, they are. They're ranked number 1 in the country in pass defense, number 1 in total defense. I think they're 4th maybe in scoring defense there. They're up there in all the major categories, and they're just loaded with talent. I mean, you look at up front, you've got Rashawn Gary. Chase Winovich did suffer an injury last week. We're not quite sure what his status is going to be. That would be a big loss, but still lots of talent up front. Linebacker, you got Devin Bush, who in my opinion is one of the best linebackers in the country. Khaleke Hudson's another playmaker. Then the secondary as well. There's 2 corners, Lavert Hill, David Long. They've both been fantastic this year. Safeties are solid as well. So there's a lot of future NFL players there on that defense, and this is going to be a huge challenge. We've seen Ohio State improve in the running game. They've shown that they've been able to establish that for the last few weeks. But this is going to be a real tough physical defense to go against. And that passing defense, they're going to challenge Dwayne Haskins on every throw. So Dwayne Haskins is going to have to really be sharp to avoid mistakes in this one.
I kind of think Michigan is just going to throw all types of pressure at Dwayne Haskins and be like, well, if Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins beat us, that's fine. But we're going to make you earn it. We're going to make you earn it on offense. And that's going to be kind of interesting, especially when you couple the fact with Ohio State played fairly well on offense against Michigan, but the defense was, or against Maryland rather, this past weekend, but the defense was absolutely atrocious across the board. One really quick thing, Joshua, with you, tackling has been a problem for Ohio State. It will not be more important at any point throughout the year than this Saturday.
Yeah, and I think they said the stat for missed tackles against Maryland was 8, but those 8 were on some of the biggest plays of the game. So they got to be able to eliminate that. They've got to be able to try to suffocate. The one good thing that they have going is when you face a pro-style attack, everything's kind of bunched into one. And so you're able, Coach Schiano loves playing man-to-man. This might be the week where the man-to-man defense works out, because it defines what's going on. Guys are in tighter spaces, so it's easier to be able to play some of those concepts. But if they can't get some of the fundamentals together, the tackling, if they can't figure out what their identity is going to be for this game, it's going to be a long one. You've got Dwayne Haskins. That's very important because he's a guy who can change the game. And Michigan gave up 385 yards to an Indiana team. But if you can't come and stop their offense, it doesn't matter what Dwayne Haskins is going to do. It's going to become one of those shootout games, and it's going to be a long way to beat them doing that.
You would know on defense, in your last game, you blew out Michigan and you led the team in tackles back in 2015. 4 sets of gold pants. That's not bad,
Love
right?
it. Love
Very
it.
good. Dan, Joshua, I'm Brett. We'll see you next time.